So thank you so much for inviting me in this new studio. I'm happy to be with Bun TV, as we do already a good cooperation together. I'm here the EU ambassador. The ones who do not know me, I have been in between 2007 and 2009 German ambassador in Armenia, so I already have quite an experience in your country. The European Union is very engaged in Armenia. We signed an agreement which is called the Comprehensive and Enhanced Partnership Agreement, CEPA. And on 24th of November, we will celebrate the signature of this agreement again. It entered into force, in full force, on the 1st of March of 2021. So now we have the full-fledged framework of our cooperation. What does it mean practically? We are trying to extend and enhance the bilateral cooperation in all areas. That means, first of all, naturally, political relations. It is the task of each ambassador to reach out to the government and to hear their priorities and to discuss where we can work together and where the European Union can be helpful in order to support the reform process of Armenia. I think we were all very much impressed by the developments over the last years, the efforts of the Armenian government to really implement a reform process that is comprehensive and that is meant for the benefit of the Armenian people. So what we are doing is we are closely cooperating in the field of these reforms. For example, the European Union is quite active in the field of the judiciary reform, cooperation with the Corruption Prevention Committee on the anti-corruption strategy, and we are also supporting the police reform, which, when everything is done, will really help the citizens, because then you will have a totally new image of the police in this country. And naturally, it is always very important to promote economic ties between the European Union and Armenia. So we are supporting a lot of initiatives in this country, both to support regional development, because, as I always say, Yerevan is not Armenia, and you have to leave the capital to get a gist of the broad possibilities and the rich culture and cultural heritage you have in this country. So we are supporting regional development to help, for example, small and medium-sized enterprises to develop in Armenia. And this is a rather successful cooperation for quite some time now. We will further extend this cooperation. We are right now discussing with the government an economic and investment plan, which gives us the opportunity to go into several areas of priorities of the Armenian government to really help to develop these areas of cooperation. So this means also, I think it is important for all of us, green development for the European Union. The Green Deal is one of the most important priorities, and we want that Armenia joins us in these efforts, and I'm very much engaged in environmental issues in your country. You see, when I was here the first time, I was shocked by the number of plastic I found all over the country. You go to the most beautiful mountains in the desert, you find plastic bags. So I think this is one of our common goals, to get Armenia plastic free, but also to support the idea of energy efficiency. We are in close cooperation with the municipality of Yerevan, and it will be one of our flagships within this economic and investment plan to further enhance both green transport in Yerevan, but also to support, for example, kindergartens in Yerevan to make them earthquake safe, and in the same time renovated and finding a nice environment for the kids, and also to protect our nature in the same time. So this is another very important element of our cooperation. And then, which is your advantage, because you have a high developed tech sector, we are working together in technology, in innovation, also in digitalization. I think we all learned over this long period of the COVID pandemic that things change. So we have to find new approaches, how to cooperate, how to communicate. So we all went through the procedure that we have more and more video conferences. And this is naturally, sometimes it's tiresome. Yeah? You want to see people in reality, but it offers new opportunities. For example, of tourism, to go online and to discover new countries without traveling physically. And it also offers the opportunity to connect easier. When before we said we always have to meet personally, now we learned that we can also tackle serious questions via video conferences. And this makes it possible that we are cooperating much closer. So the field of tech, the field of digitalization is one of the important priorities we are having in this country. Another important element, and I think we all remember the difficulties of the year 2020 and also of 2021, is to go south, because we see that there is an urgent need to do more in Munich. So I traveled myself in summer of 2021 to Munich. I went and looked at our projects we are having there, and we discussed our further cooperation to support this region, both in the economic field, but also to do more in the field of education and other areas, because we think it is very important to support this region that is so heavily affected by the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. So there we will do more in future, and we are already preparing programs we are having, and in the same time we are supporting Armenia in the field of the COVID pandemic. We started in 2020 with an extra package, both in the health sector, but also in the economic sector, to help companies to overcome this extremely difficult period. And right now, we are still considering to help Armenia to get enough vaccines, to get most of the population vaccinated. After it was extremely difficult in the summer last year, because people were not willing to get vaccinated. I think now we see progress, and I hope that more and more people see that it is necessary to get vaccinated, because we will only overcome this pandemic together, and then it will give us more opportunities to cooperate and again to have, for example, real tourism in Armenia. So it is in the interest of everybody that most of the people get vaccinated, and we are in close contact with the Ministry of Health on this. I think in the beginning you had not all the vaccines, now you get more and more, so everybody can choose what vaccine he or she wants. But I think it is very important for all of us that we get out of this pandemic together and that we do more in this direction. Another field of cooperation is naturally education. These are possibilities for young people. This is very important for me, because originally I was a teacher, so I attach great importance both to formal but also to informal education, to give young people the possibility to get the best education ever, and also to give an opportunity that the economy of Armenia gets the labor force they really need. So I think this is an area that is important for all of us. And we want to offer more and more opportunities for young people to connect with Europe. So we have Erasmus+, which is a scholarship scheme, and it gives the opportunity that you see the experience in EU member states, and then you come back to your own country and try to find good opportunities here, and also to bring your experience you make in Europe back to Armenia. So this is something which I appreciate very much, and we have a wonderful program I love personally, which are the Young European Ambassadors. These are bright, open, interested people who stand for our cooperation and also stand for European values. Which brings me to the point that we are naturally strongly cooperating with Armenia in the field of human rights, of equal opportunities for everybody, leave nobody behind. I think this is very important for us, but also to see that the judiciary reform really leads to rule of law, so that every citizen can get his right whenever he appeals to a court, and also to cooperate more to make this process sustainable. And last year we were observing the parliamentary elections. The EU delegation was also active to follow the local elections, and I think this is very important. It is also important for the people to see that they have a choice, that they can choose who will decide their future. So I want that everybody gets a possibility to express his or her opinion and to take part in a process of developing a vision of a future Armenia. After this extremely difficult period, I think it is important that you create a positive image of your country. And sometimes, as a foreigner, we see more the opportunities than you see yourself when you are in the middle of a crisis. But you have opportunities, you have sectors where you are really successful. You have an asset which I think is very important. You have a very rich culture. And these are your roots, but this can also help to develop the future, which gives the opportunity to the new generation to say, what is the Armenia they want to live in? So there we are in a dialogue. We are in a dialogue with everybody who wants to talk to us. And as I said, we do not want to separate. I think this is very important. We want to get everybody on board. So I'm looking also for opportunities for vulnerable groups. I stand up for everybody who is in need. And I want to underline once again, we are looking for inclusion. We are convinced that cooperation is an asset, and this gives us all more opportunities. And we listen to the Armenian society, and we are listening to the Armenian government to hear how they want to develop the future relations with the European Union. We stand ready to support Armenia, and we respect Armenia and its other partners. So we are never asking our partners to make a choice, but we offer as much cooperation as it is wished by the people of our partner countries. So I'm extremely happy to be back in Armenia. I think it is an advantage that I know this country, and that sometimes, as I have a little bit more distance, I can see certain things clearer. And most of them, they are the opportunities you have. because let's say in these really difficult years, 2020, but also 2021, I saw that a lot of people were more concerned, and I want to give also a positive sign that even though you were in very difficult situation, you made it, you made progress in the economic field, and I see an openness. And I see that, for example, the elections last year showed that you are really a democracy. And I think this is a great asset. And I would wish that everybody sees the advantage of this. So I know there are certain discussions ongoing. There are certain people who perhaps do not like what I say sometimes, but this is something I have to live with. But I can really underline, and that's why I like it here so much, that together we made a lot of progress, and I'm convinced that we will continue to cooperate closely, and that this will be for the benefit of the Armenian people. This is our ultimate goal. The European Union wants that the partners have all the opportunities they want to have. We want naturally our partners to share our values, and we are working in that direction, but we are not here to lecture, for example. I think this is an approach that doesn't help. Cooperation and common understanding and a dialogue, that's what is needed in our relationship. Of this, I'm deeply convinced. Well, this changes always when I'm in different environments, but one of the books I really love, if you want to know German history of the 20th century, then it is Uwe Jonsson, and in English the book is called Anniversaries. This is a book about a woman who went through the difficult period both in the Third Reich, but then afterwards also in the GDR, and then going in the United Germany. This is one of my favorite books. It is very long, but I love it. And then a book I took out again when I came back to Yerevan. It is not Werfel, because everybody knows 40 Days of Musadak, but it is Edgar's Hilsenreich. And his book is called The Story of the Lost Sword. And it is again, it is a story about the Armenian history of 1915. And I think it is a very impressive book. And then to have a totally different approach, if I'm tired and if everything is getting too much, I love to read, let's say, classics. And one of my favorite books, and I read it again and again, is Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice. So these were my 3 recommendations. It depends. Again, I say it depends on the period of life you are in. When I was young, I was reading Hesse, and it influenced me a lot. Now that I'm old, I read more books which give me an impression of the environment I'm in. And I think to understand other cultures, then I would really now, here in Armenia, say Werfel, the 40 Days of Musadak, which were important when I read them the first time to understand this country. Again, I change my preferences according to my environment. One film I really liked and which impressed me very much was La Strada. It is a film by Fellini. I still see the eyes. So it is a road movie and I love it very much. But again, there are moments when I'm looking, in a winter time, with a blanket on my sofa, because I'm a generation before Netflix. I love all these British classics. So whether you take North and South, whether you take all the films of Jane Austen. This is something to have, it is a little bit more to relax and to have a different environment. I would like to have met Gandhi because I think this personality who stood for silent protest and a lot of patience and changing a whole nation is still impressive for me. Because a good friend of mine told me when I finished my studies, you know, you should apply with the foreign ministry. I think you would fit into our team. So I'm a rather flexible person. I had certain opportunities in my life, and sometimes I simply took up an advice, and that's exactly what happened when you see, I applied in 1988. Can you imagine? Yeah. So I started in the German Foreign Service in '89. And I never regretted it, but really, if I'm very honest, when I applied, I was not totally clear what I was doing afterwards. So this I discovered throughout my career. But I like to connect with people, I like to see different environments, I like to learn. I think you remain young if you learn. So this was a perfect profession for me. This is, I think, difficult. Well, you know, I'm a German, so sometimes I have also a private German side. I would say it ends now, but for me, and I had the opportunity to meet her several times, Angela Merkel is a very impressive politician. And I think she was important because she is strongly supporting Europe. She impressed me by her knowledge. She is a very modest person, and now you see all the TV shows in Germany describing her career. She knows a lot, she learned a lot, and she had the patience to wait and not to jump to conclusions. She was much criticized for this, also in Germany, but I think we can all learn from this, because if we are too fast, we can make mistakes. So I would say she was one personality that was extremely important for Germany, but she was also, as a strong European, one of the uniting figures within the European Union. Well, I love classic music. My favorite composers are Mozart, and this is related to my youth because I spent nearly all my vacations in Salzburg, and my father introduced me to opera, so Don Giovanni is my favorite opera, and Beethoven on the other side because, not only because the Ninth Symphony is now the European anthem. For example, Fidelio is one of the most beautiful operas I know, so these two I would consider to be my favorite composers. I didn't experience a cultural shock. I had to adjust to a different way of acting. So what for me as a German was a little bit unconventional is, let's say, the flexibility, I call it, yeah? For example, that I get a phone call in the morning whether I can meet somebody in the afternoon. This is something which asks a lot of flexibility from you. And naturally, there was a certain clash between this German punctuality and, let's say, a little bit more a creative approach by the Armenian side. But you see, we all can learn. Also, I don't think that if you come from your own cultural background, you know how to do things. So I am more taking the positive examples, and I see certain similarities because I come from the Rhineland. We have a lot of temperament there because it is a melting part in Germany. We have a lot of French influences still. So I like the emotional side of Armenians. No, I really liked the experience I made here. Again, difficult. Also, I love some dishes from the West Armenian kitchen, like mutabal, hummus. They are really favorite, and I like gyrodolma. That is something I really appreciate.